Hello, and a very warm welcome to the very first episode of Friday live stream. And the clue's in the title. It's a live stream on a Friday. My name's Phil Croshaw, and I'm going to be your host for this Friday live session and all the subsequent Friday live sessions over the coming weeks and hopefully months. Obviously, I was preparing, just thinking about what I would talk about being on this first episode. And all of a sudden, an alert came up on my phone, as it probably did on the vast majority of other people's phones. And this is what came up.
He was Britain's longest-serving consort, a man who could have gone to the very top of the Royal Navy, but instead chose to sacrifice his career and dedicate most of his adult life to the woman he loved. Born on the Greek island of Corfu, he ended up here at Gordonstoun School in Scotland, his family having left Greece when he was just 18 months old due to political instability. It was in 1934 that he first met his future wife, when they attended the wedding of his cousin, Princess Marina of Greece, and the Duke of Kent. He was an uncle of Princess Elizabeth. Philip and Elizabeth had in fact shared a unique connection since birth. His mother, Princess Alice of Battenberg, was a great-grandchild of Queen Victoria, just like Queen Elizabeth's father. In 1939, 18-year-old Philip joined the Navy. War broke out and Philip was sent to sea, where he became First Lieutenant on HMS Whelp in the Indian Ocean, rescuing British pilots shot down by the Japanese. 2 years after the war ended, he married Princess Elizabeth. Having renounced his Greek title, the king made him Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. In 1952 he was promoted to commander, but his naval career came to an end on the death of his father-in-law, King George VI. It was left to Philip to break the news to his wife while in Kenya, on a tour of the Commonwealth. At the Queen's coronation in 1953, the Duke took an oath to serve his wife for the rest of his life.
So I think it would have been remiss of me not to mention this on this first live stream show. Obviously, the death of Prince Philip. Some of you may have realised, most of you won't have realised, that I was actually named after him. And not many of you'll know that my name is Duke. That was a joke, by the way. It's not, of course. My name is Philip, and I was actually named after Prince Philip. Well, what can I say? And yeah, quite sad news, really. End of an era, I think. Obviously, everybody will have their different opinions about it. There'll be some people who, shall we say, anti-royalists who will have their views and probably rejoice on it. But I think it's the end of an era. And, you know, I think what's interesting is, from my point of view, is that I've just started a new channel with my friend and colleague Spencer Phillips recently, as some of you may know, called Passions. And what was interesting was I was just watching the news about the fact that he'd passed away, and they were talking about his passion. Yes, they use that word too. They were talking about his passion for conservation and his passion for animals and wildlife and all that stuff. And there's been numerous books that he's been involved in producing and writing and all that sort of thing. So he obviously was a passionate guy. On a personal level, I think it's fair to say that I actually liked him. And everybody will have the different opinions. I get it. But the reason I liked him was because he wasn't always totally politically correct. And I'm not a massive fan of over, and I stress over, political correctness. I think it's gone absolutely nuts and maybe gone too far. But if you look at him, he had a wicked sense of humor, perhaps a sense of humor that a lot of us can actually relate to in some cases. And he never seemed to take himself too seriously. And I was listening to a story of where he was talking to the ex-Archbishop of York, selling about, what do you think of this piece of wood? It was brought it over from one of my trips abroad. And the Archbishop of York was saying how impressed he was with this amazing piece of wood, and what was the history of it. And he turned around and he said, the history of it is I've just taken it out of the fire. So that is, I think that's comical. and he said the Archbishop said it really made him chuckle, and as a result of that, they became closer. So that obviously wasn't planned. That wasn't planned for this live stream, but I thought it was worth mentioning just on the basis that I was actually named after the guy, and he's obviously passed away at 99 today, just an hour or so ago, and I just thought it was worth a mention. Okay, so what's Friday Live all about? Well, I think the best way to describe it is it'll be live every Friday. The clue's on the title at 3 o'clock. For the time will vary. Sometimes it may be 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe longer, depending on the guest I've got on the day. Now, it'll be live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube on my own personal accounts. And so it's multi-streamed, as they call it. And for some of you will know, some of you know me, and I've spent the last 20 years of my working life with individuals and organizations, and working with individuals and organizations, and providing them with what in effect is business and personal development, training, coaching, and consultancy. That's at the heart of the work that I've done for the last 20 years. And in essence, it is about helping people and supporting people to achieve greater success and, as importantly, fulfillment in their life and work. And that's very much about what I've been about for the last 20 years. So I guess you could say I help and support people in their working journey, and that's what I enjoy, and that's obviously one of my passions. Most recently, as I mentioned briefly, that my work has included the setting up of a new YouTube channel called Passions with my good friend and colleague Spencer Phillips, and that channel, that YouTube channel, investigates people's passions, including how you can make a career from those passions, or create business opportunities from those passions. And you know, it's that classic cliche, isn't it, that if you can find a way of making enough money from your passion, you'll never work another day in your life. So, and you can understand where that comes from, and I do tend to believe in that. So one of my passions then, as I said, is helping people to achieve more. And that really is the core theme of this live stream every week. It'll be going on for the next few weeks, and then the next few months, and then obviously dependent upon whether it's reasonably well received or not, then of course it'll keep repeating for whenever. The idea came about as a result of a potential client of mine telling me, because I was saying to him, you should look at live streaming as a possible way of communicating to your audience, you're marketing your business, promoting your business. And he was saying to me that, well, he said to me, I'll tell you what, Phil, he said, if you do one, I will then hire you to help me do something and do one too. And I thought, well, that's fair enough. I've done live streams before. I did 31 days of live streaming in August last year, where I did a live stream every single day, which was great fun. And you know, it's nerve-wracking. It creates jeopardy. But I'm a great believer that if you don't take yourself out of the comfort zone, you'll never really learn as much as you do inside the comfort zone. That's just my personal opinion. So through this live stream then, we'll be exploring the journey of achievement, as well as hearing other people's stories. So this show is not all about me. At this point there's a lot of rejoicing and fireworks going off at the moment, but it isn't all about me. We'll be hearing other people's stories, other people's insights and experiences, all aimed at assisting you to move forward in your own journey to greater success, and as importantly, as I said, greater fulfillment in your life and work. I jotted down a few kind of areas which I think probably are the best way to summarize it. Achievement through wealth is obviously the first obvious one. So you can achieve greater wealth and greater success through money, more money. And it's not the be all and end all, but it is obviously part and parcel of life. And as my dad said to me once a few years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since, I'd rather be miserable in comfort, Phil. And I thought that was quite a good way of putting it. Achievement through health as well, of course. So that's achieving your own personal goals and your own sense of self-satisfaction by maybe helping other people with their health. And that can be doctors and nurses, it can be coaches, it can be people who do things like Reiki is one area, or meditation. So health is a key part as well. And of course, my God, if that's not something that's relevant right now, after this last year we've had with COVID, then I don't know what is. So achievement through wealth, achievement through health, achievement through fulfillment. And one of the reasons I left corporate life when I did just under 20 years ago now was because simply I just wasn't fulfilled. And yes, I had the fancy cars. Yes, I had the fancy salaries, but I just wasn't fulfilled. And I think that fulfillment in your work is one of the most precious things. And I actually think arguably it's possibly, as well as a healthy, loving relationship, what will make absolutely the biggest difference. I'm just going to say hello to Sue Denver. Good afternoon, Sue. Great to have you on. Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on when you say put you on. Great to have you watching, and thanks for joining me today, which is great. Sue is the Winning Pitch. I do a lot of work for Winning Pitch to helping small businesses around Lancashire and Greater Manchester to achieve greater success and fulfillment in their work. So it's all very relevant. So achievement through fulfillment. The next area is achievement through study. I actually get a lot of value. I get a lot of value, and I get a lot of fulfillment out of studying, learning new things. I'm a bit of a sponge when it comes to learning new things, and I want to learn more and understand more. And which leads me on to the next area, which is achievement through curiosity. I think curiosity is a wonderful thing. I suspect probably we're born with it, as opposed to work figuring it out. I think we just we're either curious by nature, or we're not curious by nature. I think anyway. There's others that might disagree, but curiosity is a great way of achieving more through natural curiosity in the world, and different things that you could do in the world with your time and your energies. So the next achievement area is through creativity. And creativity is a wonderful thing. Now, the interesting thing for me is actually I am not at all creative when it comes to things like pottery or practical skills or painting. Absolutely terrible, awful. Couldn't do it under any circumstances, can't do it. But I am creative when it comes to business ideas and achieving and solving business problems. So Sue Denver's just saying that she's thanking me, and she's actually on holiday today. So I am very, very honoured, and I know I'm very honoured actually. And I knew she was on holiday because I'd sent a couple of emails to her, and I got the out of office reply. So I knew she was on holiday. So I am honoured. Goodness me. I'm not worthy, Sue. I'm really not worthy. But thanks for coming on anyway during your holiday. And I hope you're having a really nice holiday and a really nice break from the challenges of work that we've also been going through together a little bit over the last couple of months, with getting all the online learning and development coaching sessions, etc., up and running on our good old friend Zoom. So interesting stuff. Coles Bradley. Coles is somebody I actually know from America, believe it or not. And Coles is a lovely person. I met her when I was in Boulder, in Colorado. She was working for Career Track at the same time I was. Really nice lady, very kind lady, and very supportive as I was trying to get up to speed with the challenges and demands of the job I had in Career Track, which was actually great fun. So I understand that you have to go, Coles, but it was great to see you on. And I can now say I've got an international show, can't I? Because you are obviously based out in the good old USA. I don't try the accent, because I'm just going to make a total fool of myself. So thanks for that, Coles. Thanks for coming on. Hi to to, oh gosh, I'm terrible on surname. I apologize for names. Sakawat Hossein. I am terrible with names. Anybody will tell you, every live show I ever do, I struggle with the names. So I do apologize for that. And thanks very much for coming on and listening to my ramblings on this Friday afternoon, sir. I really appreciate it. So next area, achievement through creativity, achievement through marketing. Obviously, we'll talk about marketing, and marketing has changed beyond belief, hasn't it? Compared with just not that many years ago, when it was a radio advert or a television advert was your only option to market your products or your service. My God, how has that changed? Absolutely unbelievable how much that's changed over the last few years. So the multitude of different ways we can market and promote our business is off the scale. So we'll discuss and we'll debate and we'll explore all the different ways that we can market our business perhaps in a more dynamic way. Achievement through brand leverage. We'll talk about personal brand now, which is a thing. It used to be about brand of your company. Now it's about personal brand. How do people see you? How do people perceive you? What do people think of when they talk, when they listen to you talk? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it something that you can be proud of? Is it something that you're a bit embarrassed about? So we'll investigate all the stuff about brand leverage and the ways you can make the most of brand leverage to move yourself forward or your business forward. Achievement through sacrifice. We'll discuss sacrifice and all the different ways in which we can sacrifice things in our life to get more of what we want. We'll talk about the achievement through overcoming fears. There are some massive fears that we all have to deal with. And of course, we're doing one now, aren't we? Right now, we're actually doing exactly that, aren't we? Overcoming fears of doing a live stream, and overcoming live streaming fears is a big one, because a lot of people are extremely fearful of doing live stream. And it's understandable. My argument would always be, take yourself out of that comfort zone. As Nike said, just do it, because it can be very helpful and very valuable to your business and to your own personal brand. And because so many people are scared of doing it, it does give you a definite advantage. Some of the fears we'll talk about will be some of the psychological fears, for example, over appearing on camera. So appearing on camera, the fear of appearing on camera is known as scopophobia. So we'll have a look at that and have a chat about that. Phonophobia, the fear of hearing your own voice, is also quite a bit of a threat when it comes to live streaming or producing video. Achievement through influence and influencing other people. And I guess you could say that's including things like sales, how you can be more effective in sales and more successful in sales through influencing people to buy your product or to buy into you as a person or to buy your products or services. And then finally, and this was just a general list, finally, the achievement through technology. We'll look at all the different tech that's available to us. Like, for example, today, we're using various tech. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. We're using a DSLR camera to give a bit of a better quality, picture rather than a webcam, which are perfectly adequate, of course, but just sometimes when you're a bit geeky, you do these kind of things. You use more expensive kit. Use decent quality laptop here, so it got the processing power to be able to do that. I do have this webcam here, a Logitech 922, that I use as a spare, as a backup, as a spare. And also, if I want to show people around some of the kit that I've got going, I can change the camera to the Logitech camera, and I will actually be doing that. So that's achievement through technology. We'll be looking at that. So what can you expect on this? So there'll be interviews with all sorts of different folks, all sharing their own journeys and experiences. And it's a great way to learn. Interviews is a wonderful way to learn. I'm now at 600 people who I've interviewed over the last 15 years or so. I've learned an awful lot from some of these people. Some of these people have become clients. Some of these people have become very good friends. So I'm a great advocate of using interviews to help grow your business and help build your personal brand. So I'll actually be conducting live interviews with a number of people in my network who will also have those insights and ideas and experiences to share, which may be of help. What I'll also do is I'll show you some video clips of interviews that I've conducted that can maybe give us some inspiration, some thoughts, get us thinking. I sometimes call these, what's the point? You know, it's almost like, well, what's the point this person's making? So just as an example of that, I put just a couple together, just as an example. So this first interview clip is an interview I did a few years ago with somebody who I really respected and thought was an amazing storyteller as much as anything else. And it was just a nice person to know and obviously to interview. And this person is Dame Anita Roddick, who, for those of you that don't know, was the original founder of The Body Shop. So just I'm just going to play this clip for you, and then we'll just have a quick chat about what's the point she's making and what takeaways can we take from the clip. Here we go.
I was a teacher. I had worked for the United Nations, the International Labour Office. I had travelled, and that was really, for me, wherever I travelled, I was usually in arenas not of Western type civilization, but in areas where indigenous people were. So I lived a lot of the time in Western Africa, South Africa, a lot of the Indian Ocean Islands, Pacific Ocean Islands, and everywhere I travelled, I lived in fishing communities, and I picked up the rituals of the body. Women are good at that. Men are lousy at it, but women will take birth, marriages, and death. Oh, what are you doing in your body then? Oh, so you put yogurt there. So those became like, it was like a sort of a closet anthropologist. When I came back from the travels, and 10 years later, in my early 30s, I decided to open up this little shop, and it's only going to tread water for 2 years, and then we're going off to, I think, Australia to open up a pineapple plantation. Got the money, £4,000 from the miserable Barclays bank manager, who didn't give it to me actually, because probably because I was wearing a Bob Dylan t-shirt and jeans and I had my 2 kids destroying his office. But bank managers don't like enthusiasm. So I was going, oh, I've got this great idea, and it's going to be called The Body Shop, and I have all these knowledgeable ingredients from wise women around the world. Well, the guy, I think, thought I was going to open up Brighton's first sex shop or something. So he didn't give me the money. So Gordon, my husband, came back with me, and I looked like a man. So I wore my pinstripe suit, and we had a plastic sheet we'd just come into, plastic folder, had a profit and loss thing, which we didn't even know what we were doing. And he gave Gordon the £4,000, not me. Gordon handed me the money, and he went off to do his trip, and I opened up this little shop in Brighton. First day, I was in trouble because my shop was between 2 funeral parlours, and they didn't like the coffins passing my shop with the words "The Body Shop" over the side. So they told me to close the name down, change the name The Body Shop, which I couldn't do because I just spent £700, doing gold leaf lettering, and nobody could see anyway. I then did something very smart. I did an anonymous phone call to the local newspaper to say I'm being intimidated by mafia undertakers. And my husband had just deserted me. So, I knew how to talk to people. So I started. The 25 products, useless. It was about as big as the table we're sitting on. So what I did was, and this is what entrepreneurial thinking is about, I did 5 sizes of everything. So it looked like I had 100 products. Smart, eh? Handwritten labels, not so smart because all the writing ran in the bath when anybody did it. And so we survived. But we had stories. Every product had a story. How I made it, what mistake I made. Don't worry about the black bits, they're the dirty footprints of the bees, just scoop it out. Lovely anecdotes. Anecdotes adhere to the mind. Gordon came back. I'd opened up a second shop, and he sort of said, this is interesting. So we came up with this idea of self-finance. We didn't even know the word franchising exists. And my friends were saying, oh, you can do this, I can do this. So we covered, we just painted the shop green. It was the only colour that covered the damp patches. Now, now it's the colour of the environment. And we just had friends and sold to them, and we had this alignment of friends. And then we got a bit more professional, and set up a franchise system, which really meant, it was very eccentric, because nobody was allowed to be a franchise if they were business orientated, because we wanted teachers, we wanted activists. And I remember we gave them the Marcel Proust questionnaire. You know, how would you like to die? What's your favorite color? What car do you have? We added this one. And what car do you want? So it jumped from a VW Golf to a, you know, Mercedes. We said, we don't like that type. I mean, it was so hokey pokey, I can't tell you.
So hokey pokey. So obviously you can see from that clip that Anita was just a wonderful storyteller, and what a great example of storytelling promoting a brand. And she was honest. And the one thing that, you know, one of the takeaways I have, what's the point, if you like, is her authenticity for me just absolutely flows through. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really, how she managed to achieve what she wanted to achieve by telling the story, and there's some of it in there that's maybe not particularly that useful at the end of the day. Sorry, I'm just distracted because I've just got a message. I'm just trying to figure out what. I want to know how I can be an expert digital marketing manager. Please deliver your valuable opinion. Sorry, I didn't say that, but I want to know how I can be an expert digital marketing manager. Please deliver your valuable opinion. Okay, well, the answer to that question, I think the simple answer to it is you've got to learn your craft. Now, we live in an age where it's about instant gratification. We live in an age where what I say to clients is, if you want magic pixie dust, Harry Potter's taken it all. We live in an age of instant gratification. You know, the classic is, of course, fame. It's no longer I want to be an astronaut or a footballer. It's I want to be famous. What for? I just want to be famous, which says a lot, really, if the truth be known. So in order to become a digital marketing manager, my suggestion would be, number one, understand what a digital marketing manager is, and also understand all the different types of digital marketing manager that might exist, because it's all been broken down now. Somebody who was a digital marketing manager could have known everything about digital a few years ago. Now, most of them don't and can't. That's the truth of it, from my experience. A lot of them now specialize. So they specialize, for example, in social media is the most obvious one, or they'll specialize in video and audio. So in our business, we specialize in video and audio, digital media, because that's what we enjoy doing. We don't specialize in digital marketing from a science point of view. If you think of Google search, which is a dark art, really, in some ways. In fact, dark arts are probably easier to do than search engine optimization. It's complex stuff, and of course, the other reason is it changes all the time. Some of you may have heard of algorithms. Some of you may have heard people talk about algorithms online and algorithms on sites and on YouTube and on Google and so on. Well, those algorithms are, if you like, kind of owned, if you like, by the companies themselves, and they can change those algorithms. So you literally can go from number one on Google to completely disappearing on Google, just as a result of Google changing an algorithm. And I've seen it happen. I've seen businesses and know of people whose businesses have actually gone under because Google changed an algorithm because it felt like it. First of all, understand what sort of digital marketing manager you want to be. Secondly, understand why you want to be a digital marketing manager. Thirdly, understand where you want to be a digital marketing manager. Is it something you're based in the UK? Is it something you want to do online on a global basis? And do you actually have to do you want to specialize in a particular area of the country or a particular part of the market? Those are the key things. So just going to Spencer. Hi, Spencer. Spencer's my colleague in Passions, and he says an enthusiastic amateur, but he would say learn all the elements of marketing, especially audience engagement. It's wonderful to be focused on content, but who is watching it? What do you want them to do with it? How does all of this digital content convert to incoming cash? What a fantastic bit of advice. And I couldn't have put it better myself, Spencer, my friend. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute, because I think that you might just want to make a few notes of that comment by Spencer, because there's a lot of sense in it. Okay, so just going to take that up and then just add this next part of the question. So it's in the UK and also a remote job. Well, it's what Spencer really said. I'm going to put Spencer's comment up there again, because it's about understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it and for who you're doing it for. In essence, it's the planning bit. And I think we're all guilty of not necessarily putting enough planning into our marketing activities. We don't do enough thinking, I would say. And a good bit of advice here from Sue. She's still on holiday, but she's still contributing. Thanks, Sue. Engage with an expert. Sue's absolutely right. Engage with an expert. And if you happen to be in Manchester or Lancashire or Greater Manchester or Lancashire, you can get access to help and support from consultants and coaches like me, and many people much cleverer than me. So it's worth thinking about, and check that out in through Winning Pitch, and Sue will be able to help you out with that. But yeah, engage with some experts. You're not going to be able to become an expert over very, very quickly. As I say, 10,000 hours. So understand why you're doing it, do the plan, get it right. And then I think the final one, and I'm maybe oversimplifying it, is just practice and practice and practice and practice doing it. And there's nothing stopping you doing that. You can volunteer, for example, to work for companies as an intern or for free or as a sideline to get up to speed with it. And also, don't try and become the expert overnight. Go on the journey. And I talk a lot about going on the journey. And the journey needs to be about learning and experiencing, and of course, making mistakes. So thanks for that. Thanks, people, for your contribution there. So I do have some more video clips, which I'll show next time, because I'm conscious I'm running out of time. But I've got a great clip with a Passions interview that Spencer and I did with a guy called Ian Redmond. And Ian is one of the leading conservation experts in gorillas and all sorts of areas of conservation. His interview is an absolute joy. It was a joy to do, and it's a joy to watch. If you want to watch the full interview now, you can go to the Passions channel. You'll find that if you do Passions channel search on YouTube, you'll find it, and you'll find all our interviews on there. And check out the Ian Redmond interview. But I have got a clip which I'll show next week, because we've got a bit more time. Okay, so yeah, video clips for debate. We'll have more video clips in more of these shows. We're going to have panel debates. We're going to have panels of people. We're going to do this on Passions as well. And we're going to do some live stuff on here on the Friday live show. And we'll get 2 or 3 people on the show debating and talking about hot topics that are linked to or involved in achievement. An achievement in some of the areas, or all of the areas that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Achievement in influence, achieving in marketing, achievement in work ethic, achievement through study, and so on and so forth. So panel debates. We're also going to do some outside broadcasts. This could be fun, technologically wise, but I want to do some more outside broadcasts where we actually are live streaming from other locations. Yes, I did say that, other locations, just in case you remember that other locations outside of your studio or your house, that they do actually exist. It is not a nasty rumor. they do actually exist other places, and some of them actually apparently sell coffee and tea. It's true. It's absolutely true. And some of them, very, very soon, I think from Monday, you'll be able to actually go and buy coffees from them. I think as long as you sit outside, which today is not bad, actually. It's a beautiful sunny day today. So with a little bit of a coat on, it's a bit chilly, but it's going to hopefully change everything. And fingers crossed, we'll be able to do more outside broadcasts. And part of that outside broadcast will include me doing interviews and talking to people out and about, just to make the whole show a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more interesting. So you're just not looking at me all the time in a set of headphones and some camera gear in the background. Maybe we'll get some nice, beautiful shots of, I don't know, Blackpool or a forest. Or it's a great thing about outside broadcast, the world's your lobster, as Del Boy once said. So we're going to do different types, different formats, which is good. We'll also be talking about strategy, how to develop your strategy to achieve greater success and fulfillment. We're going to be looking at health and well-being. We're going to look at finance. We're going to look at belief. We're going to look at adapting. I've got a cracking interview coming up with a guy called Ronnie Carson, and Ronnie produced, completely pivoted, as they call it, through the COVID situation and completely reinvented his business, which ended up being really, really successful. And it's a great story, and Ronnie's going to be my guest on one of these shows. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at ideas. We'll be looking at the importance of networking, and and the fact that a lot of people hate networking. And if you've got the right mindset, the right attitude, networking is a wonderful thing to do. You've just got to think about it in the right way and approach it in the right way, and not think of it as a selling opportunity. Think of it as a building relationships opportunity. Excuse me. We're going to talk about doing vision. We're going to talk about brand. We're going to talk about using media, using social media more actively, using digital media more actively. We're going to talk about how you can do interviews with people, build relationships through that process, build network contacts, build client leads even through all that process. We're going to talk about after COVID, world after COVID, which everybody's talking about right now, aren't they? But we're going to talk about that in terms of what the world's going to look like. We're going to debate it. We're going to discuss it. Well, if you've got any questions about it, we'll also cover that as well. So I want it to be interactive. I want it to be, and thank you for all of you just making the comments and asking the questions. It's the first show, so I appreciate most people won't even know it exists. Some of you will be watching it obviously on catch-ups. They'll be watching it as a recorded video, not as a live stream. Most of you will be watching it in that sense. But I want it to be interactive because, you're probably all zoomed out. I was talking to my colleague Spencer Phillips about it this morning, and Rapinda, one of our other co-founders of Passions, and we were talking about it then, that to what degree are people zoomed out, and it's an understandable debate, an understandable question. My personal view is wait until you've gone out and you've been sat in a traffic jam on a motorway for 3 hours, and you're an hour late for your meeting, and it's going dark, and you'll be thinking, come back Zoom, all is forgiven. That's all I'll say on the matter. So when it happens, and it probably will at some point, just think back to me saying this on this call, that maybe Zoom is something that you do keep in touch with, even when we go back to some kind of normality. But that's another debate for another day. I'll answer questions, obviously. So I'm going to be answering questions from people. Some of the questions that I was asking the other day, people, what sort of questions people might have if I did a live stream. And a few examples they gave me was, how important is money in achieving success and fulfillment? Well, it is important, of course, but there's a deeper answer to that. Somebody else said to me, have all the people that you've interviewed, and as I said, probably about over 600 in the last few years, do they put their success down to luck? And it's an interesting question, because actually they do in a lot of cases, But the truth is, in my opinion, there is some luck involved, maybe sometimes, but the vast majority of it is what they do, the decisions they make, the risks they take, the amount of learning, the work ethic. There's a lot of things that they put down to luck that are not luck. They're choices that they made, and sheer determination and will and spirit as much as anything else. Being self-aware is another area actually that keeps coming up. People who are self-aware that they know what they're good at and they know what they're not good at. So like I said, from my point of view, I'm pretty good on creative ideas. I'm quite, fairly confident enough at least to do a live stream. Even if I look a blithering idiot, I can overcome that little voice of self-doubt, which is still there, of course. But it's still there, and it's still there. So do passionate people always succeed? No is the answer to that, and we'll look at I'll answer that one next time. Why is live streaming so popular nowadays? Because it is, and it's possible, and anybody can do it if you can overcome the little voice in the head that tells you you're not good enough because you've got a bald head, you've got a big nose, you've got a dimple in your chin, and you know nothing, and everybody else knows more than you. Yes, imposter syndrome. If you don't know about it, check it out online. It's worth looking into. A lot of us have imposter syndrome. Trust me, we do. What sort of kit is needed? We'll talk about the technology, because there's various kit that you need, but it's very basic, the kit you need. But then geeks like me like to play. We like to play in our studio. We like to play with our cameras. We like to play with our lights. We like to play with our laptops. We like to play with our little digital mixers so that we can swear, but nobody can hear us because it's a load of, that kind of, we like to play in essence. I'll talk about the kit. How often should people live stream? I've been asked that a lot as well. And what have been my biggest regrets? Well, I'm going to share those with you as well. And I'll ask my guests to share those too. So, gosh, a lot to take in there. Quite a few. This whole show is about introducing you to Friday Live. If you've got any ideas for content or for shows or for guests, do please contact me. You can get hold of me through Facebook, through Twitter, through flipping everything. If you can't find me in a name like Croshaw, it's not the most unusual name. So if you can't find me to speak to me, then I give up. Basically, you can find me. I'm in all the usual places. Sue's just saying that thanks, Sue, for saying great show. You're right, maybe zoomed out now, but don't fancy the driving to Manchester when I eventually venture out again. I know, Sue, I get it. I absolutely get it. I'll tell you what else I'll do as well. I've done a coronavirus vlog over last year. What the hell's a coronavirus vlog? I've recorded every few days a video diary about what's happening with COVID and where we're at as a country and where I've been at and some of the challenges I've had and some of the issues I've had. One of the early ones I did was me driving into Manchester, which is what reminded me of Sue talking about it there. What reminded me was I was driving into Manchester and it was a peak time of the day and there was hardly a single car on the road. I went into the office, which is a large building in Manchester. Went into the office and we have an office in a bigger building, and I walked around the office and there wasn't a single person in it. And it was 2:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday, and it was the day before Boris announced lockdown. Some fascinating stuff. I'll also share the clip with me where I just found out that my mum was feeling ill. My mum's 85 at the time, and she said she was feeling really ill and was being sick. And I was convinced, because it was the time when everybody was talking about COVID and the seriousness of it, and this was serious shit situation. And right then, my mum got ill. And my mum's never really ill, even though she's in her 80s. She's got a very good constitution, as they say. And I'm going to share that with you when I kind of said down the camera, oh my God, I think my mum might have COVID. And then, of course, I'll share it when it turned out that she didn't have COVID. Or did she? Because she recovered after 2 or 3 days. And we don't know yet, actually, whether she did or didn't have COVID. But if she did have it, then she recovered relatively quickly. So we'll probably never know, because she'll have the antibodies now because she's had the vaccine. So we'll probably never know. So I'll share that as well with you. And video diaries, vlogs as they're called, they can be great fun. And I'm doing more and more of those now for myself and showing clients how to do them as well. Okay, so I think that should do us actually for the first show. 45 minutes, not too bad. Lots of rambling, but then those of you that know me will know that that's me all over. Next week, I'm going to be joined by a gentleman I've mentioned a couple of times, and a gentleman who's introduced himself on here, called Spencer Phillips. And Spencer is my co-founder of Passions. And Passions is, as I said, is a video channel on YouTube which interviews people about their passions. We're up to about 50 now, with about another 20 or so in the can. It's growing like topsy. Excuse me. It's growing like topsy. I don't know what topsy is. It's a northern expression. I have no idea who topsy is, but it's growing like crazy. And Spencer's going to join me on the show. And Spencer and I are going to talk about Passions, how we came up with the idea, what we've learnt from it, and the most interesting insights that we've had from it. Some of the video clips, I just jotted a few people down that you'll hear from, some of the famous people that I've interviewed over the years. And of course, I've interviewed a lot of people who are not so famous but are doing extraordinary things. But some of the people you'll recognize, there'll be clips from Chris Akabusi, Sam Allardyce, the football manager. Robin Cousins was a Passions interview. I'll play you a couple of minute clip from Robin. Austin Healey, I just did Austin Healey this morning. Small clip from Austin Healey interview, which again you'll be able to see the full thing on Passions. Sam Bird, who's in the Formula E, drives for Jaguar. Great interview with Sam Bird. He's the first part of that interview is live now. The second part will be live tomorrow, in conjunction with the next second race of Formula E race of the year in Rome, which is happening tomorrow and Sunday, and as we speak. And you will be able to hear about what Sam has to say. I'm really looking forward to that. Actually, it's on BBC Two. I think it's at 10:45 a.m., but check the time. But it's on BBC Two tomorrow, I think. Formula E. Really interesting stuff, and fascinating if you're into motorsport. That's it. I'm going to leave it at that. That's enough for a Friday afternoon. If you've joined me live on the show, thank you ever so much for joining me. Hope you'll join me next week for me and Spencer Phillips talking and chewing the fat. And if you're watching this on catch up, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got something from it. At the very least now, maybe you should have a better idea of what the show's all about. It might be a little bit all over the place, but I love variety. I don't want it to be too structured. I love the variety, and I just want to have fun doing it. And hopefully you can learn something and have some fun doing it with me. So that's it. I'm Phil Croshaw. This is the end of Friday Live #1. Look forward to seeing you on Friday Live, 3 p.m. next Friday. Thank you very much indeed, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much. Thank you, Sue. Thanks for joining us on your holidays. I'm very honoured. And I need to talk to you, actually, Sue, about an idea I've got. And I'll catch you next week when you're back. So that's about it. We'll talk to you all again next week. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. And enjoy the Formula E. Bye for now.